Hello, welcome to the course. I'm glad you're here. Today, what I'm going to teach is one of my favorite demonstrations of all time. This is one of the first things I ever came up with. There's videos of me doing this in the 2000s. Not only that, but it's got a lot to offer. It's something that is quite easy to learn. Once you learn it, you have it forever. It's really easy to remember. No special scripts, nothing like that. All it needs is the human mind and body to pull off. Now, on top of that, I think of this as one of the perfect ways to practice a way of performing that's authentic and it's magical. Now, I want to start strong by showing you exactly what this is before we get into any of the information. So in the next video, you're going to see exactly what this demonstration is, psychic surgery, and then you're going to learn a little bit about how I'm planning to teach it and how you're going to be able to take this right off the video and start to perform it for yourselves. Okay, so invisible scalpel. This is a little bit weird, could be a little uncomfortable. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to cut open your arm right here. Okay. And I'm going to open it up. And I'm going to take out your muscles. I'm going to need an invisible. No. Yeah, could you? Yeah. Don't move your hands though. Okay. Really important. Okay. We take out the ligaments and tendons, put them right here. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to take out the bone. It's all right. Put that there. Yeah, right? And hold on. You take out this brick and you open your hand. Put in, oh, sorry, not over you. Put it inside of you. There. You feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Put in another brick. And I'll put in another brick, and we can sew this back up. There. How's that arm feel?
Yeah. Like I could move it, but it's weird.
Yeah, well, there's bricks in it. So
That's so weird.
Get him out of me.
Okay. Oh, you said you were cool with all this. I don't know. I don't know what you believe in.
Cutting, it's the bricks that are bothering.
Got you. Oh, yeah. Should have asked.
Yeah.
Important.
You didn't ask me if I'm okay with bricks.
Okay, all right. Well, we could try, you know what? We don't need these for now. Take that. Put this back in here. Take this guy out. And, actually, I could go... How are you about iron bars? Cool with that? Cool?
We could try it.
All right, let's see. So, let's put this guy in here. Feel that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sew this back up. How's that feel? Oh man.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah, well, feel her arm. You don't feel her arm. You're busy. Feel her arm. Feel how tight that is.
Wow.
Hold on. I can see it.
It's so weird.
All right, we'll take this. Sorry. There. Take that out.
So cool.
We're back in, yeah. I'll sew this up for you. Although,
Muscles back.
well, we could go a little step further first if you want. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna leave a little space there because I've got. Like I said, this gets a little weird.
Okay.
You can guys come around here. I've got a little microchip here.
Okay.
Don't be too worried about it. It's not about control. It's really about connection. Put this chip in here. Sew this up, and here. Gonna switch that guy on. There. There. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Oh, you see that? Yeah. You see that, right? Watch. See what happens if I start to move my pinky? What does your pinky want to do? Weird, right?
No.
Do you want to stop? You can stop anytime.
Do it again.
Okay.
Something else.
Ready? Yeah. Wait. It's a little weirder. Watch if I start to move my thumb. Oh, shaky. Weird. Oh.
This is so weird.
I could like not move it also. It's just like what it wants to do.
Wait, here. Let's hold it here. What if I start to... You feel that coming up a little bit?
Are you...
Watch.
Holy.
We're one brain!
I just got back to Canada and have seen for the first time some of all of the footage from the psychic surgery product, and I hadn't intended to have like an extra video added, this one that I'm doing right now, but I'm gonna do it because I had a few thoughts now looking back after a couple months, specifically because this is a different kind of approach than many people are used to. And as I was going around the world the last couple months showing people a bunch of things, including psychic surgery, the feedback I often got was, well, this is fantastic, but people aren't gonna get it. Or even that the level of expertise required to do this is very high. And I'm going to push back on that two ways. And essentially, this is my biggest worry and my biggest hope for this product. The biggest worry is that I've been informed that there's this idea that there are things in the mystery arts that are simple and things that are complicated. Simple things are like sleight of hand, and you kind of start there, and then maybe you move to mentalism, maybe you move to suggestion and hypnosis and all that kind of stuff, and then the great beyond. I just have to say that hasn't been my experience. I learned it the other way around. In fact, kind of like all over the place. I know that's true of a lot of other people too, and I think that's just a myth. I think that what I'm going to show you is really natural and really easy, but the expectation that it's hard can get in the way. I've even gone out and I've just shown this to muggles, and I've been like, here's how this works, here's how you can do it, and they pick it up like that. And I absolutely believe that can be you too. And I guess that brings me to my biggest hope about this product, which is that maybe you get to see it a little bit the way I do, that there is no crazy mind power thing that you have to do perfectly right to create these results. The fact is that there's a crazy mind power thing going on all the time inside of our heads and between us, and we usually don't see it going on. And what we're really doing with this in this project is we're tapping into that. We're asking people, inviting people to play in this space that they're not used to playing in, but is actually really natural and really easy. The reasons it works, rather than being some kind of trick you should be ashamed of, are actually better. Make it more impressive, more magical. But you don't actually have to know those reasons. They are written there. Well, they're mirrored. They're written in that book if you really need to know why, but you don't need to know why. This is this beautiful little case in point showing what is possible when we connect with somebody else. We offer a little way to play, and we create a magical space where anything can happen. In the next few videos, what you're going to see is me doing psychic surgery with a variety of people. There's people, these are just people we walked up to on the street. There's no setup or anything, just to be clear, just so you can kind of get in your heads what is the context. And we just go up, we essentially say, do you want to see something interesting? Do you want to see something weird? Drive into it right like that. Nobody said no of the ones we talked to, so there's no like stuff that's cut out for you to, you know, not be able to learn from. And we get all kinds. We get some who are like super up for it. We get a couple who are clearly, they were hanging at the sides, clearly there to kind of like challenge, you know, not super overtly, but you'll watch how I handle that. We have somebody whose English is a little bit weak, and you get to see how I handle that too. In any case, that all happens. Then we go out to Salem, Massachusetts. We go out to see Chris Bolter, who has a beautiful studio space up there. Well, he has actually 2 theaters in one building. It's fantastic. Jake, who masterminded this whole thing, basically just called up Chris and was like, hey, I got a guy with me and you really want to see what he's doing, but we're going to film. Is that cool? Yeah, and so he didn't know what he was getting into, so you get to experience it for the first time with him and then learn it along with him. What I hope psychic surgery is this little window into this crazy possibility, this way of stepping past our limitations and thoughts about what we can do with people, and understanding that actually there's this huge open space where you can show up just with yourself, just with this little knowledge of how to bend the reality in this tiny way that can snowball and become so much more.
Yeah. I'm gonna shut this off. Take it out. Take that out. That back.
He's gonna run away with all the muscles.
Yeah, you're the most important job here. All right, I'm gonna open this back up.
How does that happen? How is that a thing?
Well, you see, once you make enough space in here, you can fit in some bricks. You can fit in a bar. It's pretty straightforward.
The bar was weird. It's like
Okay, so what do we got? We got our.
ligaments and
I'm gonna start with the bone first. Yeah, makes sense. Sorry.
sense, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that.
Nice.
And ligaments and tendons.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it.
And we'll put in the muscles.
Muscles.
They're important.
So back up.
And so this guy back up. Okay, break that off.
That's it. We're good.
Yeah, how's that feel?
That was do me next.
Yeah, you want to?
Yeah.
Exact same thing.
You got anything? Yeah,
Okay, so let's start by just diving into the effect and the performance and the experience, and then afterwards we can pull it out, talk about it. Sound good?
absolutely.
Okay, so I can tell you a bit more of the story after, but this is essentially based on. Do you know those little games that kids play from like 8 to 12-ish? Like crisscross applesauce. Do you remember this? Yeah, light as a feather, stiff as a board. So one thing that I've noticed, and what we saw yesterday when we were out filming, is you say that to anyone, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that." Yesterday we did it with people from Italy, from Israel. I've done it with people from Brazil, Mexico, all around the world. People remember that they played these little games as a kid. And so I'll tell you a little bit about how this where this came from, but I want to start out just by showing it's almost like a little riff on the games we play as kids, but with a twist that I think opens sort of the possibility of how our minds work and what else might be possible. Sound good?
Down.
Okay. So let's scooch up next to each other. I usually do this standing, so I haven't done this sitting in a while.
Okay. You want me to take my watch off?
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Let's make sure I got everything I need here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's start with this. This is a little bit weird. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Let's do it.
Strange. So have you seen one of these before?
No.
No. So this is an invisible scalpel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. How are you with like injections or cuts? That kind of.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Drawing blood. Do you tend to?
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. You look
fine.
away, or do you?
No, I'm usually pretty good with needles.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So if you're cool with it, I'm gonna use this scalpel. I'm gonna cut you open. Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Cool. So let's start like this. Actually, I'll get you your elbow up a little bit because we want some space under.
Yep.
I'm gonna take this and tell me if it's too uncomfortable.
Okay.
But I will cut your arm open like this. Yeah. I can tell you're a little tense. You relax. It's cool. Yeah. I'm gonna open up the skin here. Okay. Nice. I'll even take out your bone here. Sorry about that. And the ligaments and the tendons, muscles. There we go. Whoop. Hope that wasn't anyone too close to you. You didn't knocked over an urn.
Okay.
And we'll get these bricks back in there. There we go. There it is. And more brick. Sew this guy back up. There. Okay. Now, here. How's that feel?
Very heavy. Heavy.
Give that a little lift and see how it feels.
Yeah. It's hard.
And just for comparison, lift this guy.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Here, I'll help you with that. Open this up. And take this brick out. Take this brick out. And there we go. Get that brick out. Feeling a little more normal, I hope.
Yeah.
Not too normal.
Yeah.
No bone.
A little loose.
Yeah, a little loose. You're good at yoga right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take this iron bar.
Okay.
Mind if I do a little insertion here? Yeah.
Yeah. Go for
Okay.
it.
So just put that. Hold on. Oh, kind of tight.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Put that bar in there. Sorry, it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. You're good. Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I'll sew this back up. Take that off. How's that feel?
Straight. Very,
Very straight.
very, very tense.
Yeah.
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 And let's compare with this guy.
Yep. No. Yep.
Okay, so you got an itch. What arm are you going to use?
It's a good question. If it's
If
Yeah.
it's anywhere
Yeah.
but your hand.
yeah, I'm not easily doing that.
Yeah, right? Oh. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's open this up. And sorry, this part's a little uncomfortable.
It's all right. Oh.
There.
Right.
That guy back. And we'll sew you up here. That one looked a little unpleasant. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah.
Very weird.
You want to take it up a notch?
Okay.
Okay. For this one, I'm going to have you scooch a little this way so I can get closer to you. It's always a little weird operating upside down. I'll do my... Oh, yeah. You could do lefty.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Open that back up. And just going to do this to connect your arm to mine. Here we go. Hold on a second. What was a little weird angle here.
Yep.
Make it work. Okay. And you'll see when I switch this on. Here, there. Okay. There, good.
Yep.
Now, yeah. So just let's both relax a little bit. Okay. Yeah, okay. Now here's the crazy thing is once we get this going, just notice if I lift my arm, watch your pinky.
Okay.
And when I move my pinky, do you see what? Right? It's crazy. And take that a bit further.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep.
Because if I just move over here and we keep that connection and I just move up, what is?
Yeah.
Wave to the camera. Interesting, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what if, yeah, this, here, I'm gonna, yeah, that's strong. All right, relax back down. I'll get this out of you. I'll turn it off first. Get this out of you. Take that. And sew this up for a moment. How's your hand feel?
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. Okay, but yeah, strange.
Strange because something strange happened, but
Yeah.
also strange because it's missing something.
Right.
What's it missing?
It's the bone, right?
But the bone, it's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
responsible surgeon, I'm
Yeah.
going to take this. I'm going to cut you open here. And, yeah. And we'll take your bone and we'll put that back in. Tendons, your ligaments, and your muscles. And we will sew this back up, snap that off. How you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It feels normal.
Feels normal, which is weird now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Feels, yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't leave anything in there.
I don't think so.
I'll worry about that.
No, we're good.
Okay. Cool. So plenty more we could discuss or add in there,
Sure.
but that's the basic version of it. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was bizarre, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, it was very, very strange. Almost
Yeah.
dreamlike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was weird.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Do you mind describing to the camera your experience? Just so we,
Sure.
yeah, just get on the inside a
Like
little.
what it felt like? Or
Yeah, what was it like?
It at first was, it took a couple of seconds to really get into it.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like, all right, what's happening?
Yeah.
To really, to like kind of let your guard down a little bit. As you can tell, I was tense.
Yeah.
Tense. And once we relaxed a little bit, I relaxed a little bit. It just kind of took over. If that makes any sense?
Yeah.
It was very surreal at first. Like when you did the first cut and you did the bricks, I could feel my arm dropping down.
Yes.
You know, like you were putting bricks in there.
Yes.
That was the whole. Yeah. It was crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
So then you took the bone out, and I didn't quite feel it right away.
Yeah.
But then after a second, I could feel like a looseness.
Yes.
You know, and I could feel the muscles by himself. And then you did that part. We got rid of those and the tendons, and it just. I knew that everything was still there, but it felt like it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But you have to experience it.
It was and it wasn't there.
It was. Like you knew it was there.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel like it was. I could visualize when you pulled the bone out. I could literally see it.
Yes.
So, and then with the steel rod going in, I saw the rod.
Yes.
And everything, and I felt it almost lock into my elbow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was very weird. But yeah. Well, it got very visual.
Interesting.
Towards the middle part, and then at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see the stitches in the thread. Like you said, you break off the thread. I could see it break off, and yeah, it was bizarre.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for
that was crazy
experiencing that and sharing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo, that's dope. Yeah, definitely feel that.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Aaron Alexander. I'm here with Chris, and today we're gonna lead you through a really exciting, interesting process to essentially kind of hack into people's minds to create some really unusual effects. Okay, so I'll start by explaining the basics of this, and then we'll actually probably the best thing to do is teach you, and then maybe we could hook in the camera guy. And you could do it on him?
Sure.
Yeah? Awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'd just like to see it all go down. I assume that you doing it the first time will teach people a lot more than me doing it the millionth time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's go that way. But I want to start off just by, a little frame on this of this to me is a little piece showing a much greater possibility, both because of the experience you create, but also because, as far as I know, this always works.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like nothing always works. You could drop your cards, or I don't know enough fancy magic words to say the many ways you could mess up. Flash. There you go. I knew that one. I didn't think of it. Yeah. So obviously things can go wrong. As far as I can tell, this is as reliable as anything can be. Our camera guy will attest to. Yesterday we got some tough customers. It was fine. And so I'm just going to explain sort of how I would do this in an ideal circumstance, how I would do this in a case where things go wrong and you can, fudge around. And then if there's any missing pieces at the end, we'll come back and cover those.
What about like worst case scenario? Like horrible spectator just does not comply.
Well, I mean, it depends how much they're not complying.
Okay.
I assume, like, if you like pick a card and someone's like no, I don't know if there's much you can do about that. Well, I have thoughts on that, but I don't think this is the place for them. Let's assume this is somebody who's like willing to engage.
Okay.
Because we've had some really interesting conversations about what causes people to engage and how to set the stage and all that kind of stuff. And we can get into that on the back end if it comes up. But yes, keep track, all present, keep track of your questions and doubts, and we'll try to resolve them all. So the first thing is, and we won't get into it a ton, but I've framed this a whole bunch of different ways. I framed it like a psychology demonstration for an academic group. I've done it at parties. I've done it a couple times in a stage show. I ended up having another thing that works better for my vibe. Mm-hmm. So I haven't done it a ton there, but I have. And I know others who have too. And so, whether I frame it as a thing about connection, I can do that. Often I love just talking about the kids' games, because it doesn't require, it's just so authentic, and it's real. It's where it does come from. And it doesn't require anything but stating facts in an interesting way. And it genuinely is a demonstration of something our minds and bodies can do that we don't tend to think about. Okay. Human imagination is one of the lines I sometimes use in shows is like, we think of imagination as that thing that kids had before iPads were invented. But actually, our process of like imagining what could be and clicking into what seems to happen is sort of how all of this came to exist. It's what put us on the moon, some would say. It's so fundamental, and we're essentially using a process. It's not just some imagination game. It's us stepping into that human space of understanding and generating possibilities and experiences, right, and then bending that a little bit to experience the world differently than we might have otherwise. So I begin by essentially inviting people to do that. So if it's a more formal show, maybe I start by talking about kids' games or talking about different sciencey shit, which if there's demand for that, I'll talk about the sciencey stuff too, because that's my main background. But setting the stage of like getting some kind of interest, engaging people, and essentially at some point saying something along the lines of, are you cool with experiencing something a little weird or something a little odd? And as long as you get a yes to, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable or comfortable doing something weird, that's a yes. That's the first yes that's going to allow them to invite us into this space where crazy stuff happens. Okay. And then, of course, there's a second yes and a third yes and a fourth yes where I'm saying things like, and I kind of jazz it. It's never the same every single time. In fact, I mess up in a way that I haven't probably ever done with you the first time, and it doesn't matter because I'm following the thread. Yeah. Yes. Well, I didn't either. The camera guy caught it.
Oh, with the bone.
It's the bone. Yeah. But that's it. It's the sequence is less important than following the thread of inviting someone to experience something that's a little it's a little impossible, and me recognizing that this is actually the natural thing. This is the natural thing for us to experience the world in a different way when invited to do so. So I'll get some kind of yes around that. And then I often will get into either talking about getting cut or drawing blood. Sometimes I'll say, when you get blood, do you normally look away? And that's so right after, do you want to experience something weird? That's my next question. And they're like, ooh, often.
What's about to happen?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
And so again, if we've created the right vibe, if I am connecting with this person, even a little bit, and that's all you need, a little bit, they're going to engage with that question.
Quick question.
Yes.
Does your context of presentation or purpose change when it's on the street versus on stage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the context absolutely changes. What I say just changes from a theatrical perspective. Okay. If it's on the street or if it's at a party or something, I'll pretty much just go with, do you want to see something weird?
It's a conversational.
Yeah, it's very conversational. Sometimes I'll bring up the kids' game, sometimes not.
Right.
But all of that is like a 10 to 30 second thing.
Sure.
Whereas on a stage, maybe I set it up with the Diary of Samuel Pepys and its long history of weird kid games.
Right.
So depends absolutely on the context.
Okay.
In fact, in like an academic context, I might start with some sort of academic sounding, let's talk about brains and mirror neurons, et cetera, and then completely kick that out the door once they accept that I'm sciencey enough.
Sure.
And then we go straight into kid games.
Right. And I'm thinking about it from the perspective of a magician and a mentalist.
Yes.
If I was going to put this on stage, how would I frame it theatrically?
Gotcha.
So that was my point to the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so theatrically, there's that, but also this as an opening or a conclusion can be really strong because you're essentially you're essentially using a thing that shows how to open our minds and uses the frame of a time in our lives where our minds are open, when we're young and we're playing with the ideas about the world. So it's a wonderful opening or closing, and can be combined in different ways. But essentially, so we get that, and then the first thing I do,
I take out my scalpel. You've seen one of these before. It's an invisible scalpel.
Okay.
And in this next process,
Take this off again.
sure, yeah, you'll tend to get a lot of different reactions. Some people will be like, ha ha ha. Some people, they have some scalpel history.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh,
You gotta be sensitive.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you just kind of, you feel it out as much as you can. But essentially, if they're a little too much, you can be like, it's an invisible scalpel. It can only do invisible scalpel things. It's cool.
Right.
If they're really cool like with it, like a bunch of people yesterday, you kind of play it up and make it uncomfortable. Like I will imagine being uncomfortable in my body as I'm going to cut.
Yeah.
And from here on, like it's 90% theater and play.
Right.
So I'm playing with your energy and I'm doing the theater of miming this. You don't have to be an amazing mime. I didn't go to clown school. I did one improv class. The bar is low.
Okay.
As much as you can, just get into it because you're really just playing with a person. And you've opened with the idea of we're going to play a game. We're talking about kid games. People love play. It's like this thing that so many adults are missing. And so when you come in and you say, do you want to, well, I don't want to say, do you want to play a game? Because is that hostile or?
Saw.
Saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta adjust your language a bit.
Bicycles backstage.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Okay, so anyway, I'm getting into the weeds a bit.
That's all
So I
right.
come here and I just mime, I'm going to do this for real, so to speak, cutting them open. And I'm always careful to keep track of this guy.
Because it's real.
Because it's real, because we're
Right.
building a world. And even though it's surreal,
Right.
it's also real,
Yeah.
where if I just drop scalpels everywhere,
Yeah.
you kind of come out of the moment.
Right.
So I put the scalpel away, I pull apart your arm, and I start pulling stuff out. I start with the bone. Do you want me to do that right now?
Go.
Yeah,
Let's
okay.
do it.
All right, sorry. Okay, so I take out the bone,
Right.
and I'm taking out the muscles. And do you notice what I'm doing as I take out your tendons and ligaments?
It's like a pull rip kind of, or
That's the theater part, but there's, I said 90% theater
Right.
and play.
Okay.
What's that 10%?
I guess the feeling.
Strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Your strategy, my
Yeah,
feeling.
exactly. But this is it. I'm actually going to start to sculpt your experience
Okay.
very subtly. So here, I'm just going to put in the muscle for you for a second.
Okay.
I'm going to take out the muscle, and then I'm going to put in a brick.
Right.
Okay, so what am I doing as I do this? I'm communicating through my arm,
Right.
through my body.
The sensation of
That
weight.
So
Yes.
and I take this out.
Yeah.
You'll notice if you watch back, you start here. Even at the beginning, I think you had your hand on like this.
Yeah, right above my knee. Yeah.
I think it was even on your knee, and I
Okay.
was like, I moved you off to the side
Right. Yep.
because I'm gonna take things out of you, then I'm gonna put things back in, and the
Right.
whole time I'm communicating with my body what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So this experience, we say imagination, but I'm really illustrating it physically.
Yeah.
So what are we at now? I took
Muscles are gone.
muscles are gone, but did I get
Brick
rid
is
of this
in.
brick too? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
get rid of this
Yep.
too. Okay. So then I'm going to put in my 3 bricks.
Okay.
And this is the moment where you don't want to get too hung up on working or not working. I would do quotes, but I'm holding a brick. But this is where you start to see, boom, I put in the brick.
Yep.
And I'm going down with my arm, but I can see and feel that it's not just me.
Right.
This is a team effort now.
Yep.
So
and the push of the other hand.
yes,
Aids
exactly.
in the weight. Yeah.
The weight and the experience of having bricks. So I'm putting another brick, boom.
Right.
And you notice, and maybe this was semi-deliberate, but this happened in the real shoot as well, I'm pretty sure, that you started anticipating the weight
Yes.
right before it happened.
Right.
Your system is already engaged,
Yeah.
and I can feel this is a heavier arm than it was.
Right.
So
Yep.
this here is the moment where you start to notice, okay, do I have to do any extra work, or is this game over? In your case, this is pretty much game over. I did have to, we can go back and look at the original thing. I did have to do a little work to set you up. I did have to relax your arm a bit.
Yeah.
We'll get back to
Little
that.
tense. Yep.
Yep. But once you set that up, and we can go over that a bit more, at this point, often it's a done deal. So I take my brick, and I put in the third brick. Okay? And at this moment, it's a wonderful moment because it's real and it's surreal at the same time.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything is ridiculous, and yet here's your heavy arm. So I take out my needle and my thread. I sew them back together. Some people will get really neurotic about sewing everything right and all that. It's surreal. It doesn't have to be perfect as long as I'm following my own rules. So in the rules that I'm setting, this is where my needle goes. I wouldn't do that in real life. I might sit on it. But now you have a heavy arm.
Yeah.
And very likely, I can feel how heavy it is just by how much extra weight is in there. And I know 100% what's about to happen here. Boom. It's heavy arm.
Yeah.
Move that around a bit. You feel.
Yeah.
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 And
Like I'm holding a tree or something.
yeah, right.
Very heavy.
Yes. We'll open this up. And again, people have different responses. We'll get into that. All responses are good responses. We'll open this guy, take out the brick, put it here. And what am I doing with my arm as I take out the bricks?
Going up. Yeah.
We're back to baseline.
Right.
Again, it's easy to get kind of neurotic about, okay, here's the line, and I'm going to go this far down when I put in a brick. I'm going to do this far when I come up. That's not important. You're following, it's like you're following the thread of our experience.
Okay.
As long as I'm in the moment enough to remember to communicate with my whole body, the rest is taken care of. The strategy is that 10%, if that. So now, to create this experience, we've talked about how to open this situation up. We've gone from this surreal, impossible thing to him saying yes to impossible things. Here's an invisible scalpel. You want to play with this? Yeah. I'm going to cut you open. Is that cool? Okay. He's accepting impossible premises. And then, and a lot of people, until the arm gets let go, they're still kind of like, okay, whatever, dumb game. And then I let go of the arm and they're like, what?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So because I'm communicating essentially subconsciously or greater than consciously, this will tend to just come all together as long as I keep hold of the thread. Yeah, we'll feel her arm. So now the next thing we're doing, you can do follow your imagination. You can do anything you want, but this is my basic sequence because we go through one surreal experience that is weird but not uncomfortable, to one that is weird and uncomfortable, to one that is weird, uncomfortable, and kind of out of this world for most people.
Yeah.
So we're also kind of scaling up as we go. So now, I did open you back up. So now we come in, I take out this bar, and I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to push it up his arm. And what am I doing as I push this up your arm?
Yeah. Locking.
I'm locking your elbow.
Yeah.
And I'll even test behind here, because you get different people with different resistances. There's some people who are super stiff the moment you touch them.
Right.
And so I'm putting it in, and I'm using a bit of leverage here to straighten the arm, and then I'm confirming here that the arm is straight as I push the rest of that in, which has the experience of now I'm straightening here, and I'm straightening here, which feels like having a bar in your arm.
Right.
And because we already have the first stage where everybody's going to feel their arm is a little heavy.
Right.
Most people will feel it's very heavy, but everyone's going to feel a little bit. Now we have this visceral one where, is this all right?
Yeah, no, good.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Some
good.
people get quite uncomfortable.
No,
I want to check.
Fine.
So now we've got this one where his arm is, feel that,
Yeah.
super tight.
Yeah.
And of course, it's because we've created this frame, we're engaging, there's been this slow ramp up, but it's also because I am creating the feeling of that as we go.
Okay.
Now, I will often, because this is the one where I would say there's the most variation in terms of working. So everyone will feel something in their arm, as far as I can tell.
Right.
Some people will be like, oh, that's weird. And some people will be like,
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'll often do is I'll hold right here, just theatrically, if there's a group, if it's just us, who cares?
Sure.
But if there's a group, I'll often hold here so that I can kind of control the response a little bit. There was a girl in the market yesterday who was a great example of this. She was a wonderful responder. Everything was great. She got so distracted that she was like moving her arm a bit.
Right.
And so just for theatrical purposes, I'll tend to hold on here.
Okay.
If I'm really confident, I'll let go.
Sure.
Doesn't matter that much. I'll even, sometimes I don't love the whole hypnotic challenge kind of thing often. It
Right.
can work sometimes.
Try to lift your arm kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
and I'll never do like try to bend your arm, and the more you bend, the harder it gets.
Right.
We've already put an iron bar in there.
Yeah, you
They're like,
shouldn't be able to-
why all the small talk? And so, if they want, they're like, oh my God, that's weird.
Yeah.
I might say a few things about how weird it is, or what does that feel like, and they might try to bend it.
Right.
Cool, go to town.
Yeah.
But that's not my focus. And if I get somebody who's, well, we'll get into people who are trouble later, but in the absolute worst case scenario, if I just really focus on the discomfort of this and people see this weird hyperextension, nobody remembers that they didn't, they didn't actually hurt themselves trying to bend it.
Now, I noticed you have my wrist turned as opposed to straight up
Yeah.
and down. Is that intentional?
Here, let's get this out of you. So it's, here, I'm gonna reach in. So I reach in, and as I pull it out, I relax his arm down.
Right.
So there's a really clear moment here.
Where it bends, right.
Okay. Now, am I bending on side on purpose? Yes,
Because I can see this is more,
exactly.
than this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And also, if I'm holding here, I have more control than here.
Right. Because I have
From
more
my-
power in
yes.
this direction. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can even, with my finger here, I can add a little extra straightening.
Right.
So little touches.
Okay.
And I think when you do it, we'll talk more about little touches as we go. Okay, so that's the, sorry, my friend.
Yeah, I'm bleeding all over the place.
Luckily, this kind of blood comes out easy. So, so we've gone from like kind of surreal but very playful to surreal and like actually a little uncomfortable. This is a uncomfortable thing, and this feels weird. This feels more like losing control. This is something that's like, whoa. So at this point, you have somebody who's really invested. And so that's when I'll go on to, in my basic version, I play it different ways. The connected arms, sometimes I'll even say I'm putting in a microchip. You're free to play, because at this point you've built up such a little reality where crazy stuff happens that you can invisibly do all sorts of things.
So you can jazz it.
You can jazz it.
Yeah.
When I take this, I'll give you a little cut here, so you don't need much bigger. And so I think when I did it with you, I just said, and I'm going to connect the arms. And again, so I'm not a big J.J. Abrams fan, but if you watch a J.J. Abrams movie, it's kind of like everything sort of emotionally makes sense. And then you think about it and you're like, that made no sense at all. It's okay to have a little J.J. Abrams where you don't like, it's like, I'm going to connect arms. How?
Right.
Magic. So I'll open this, but just for diversity, I'll go in and put in a microchip here. Now this, I can talk, I have all these little tricks that you can use to fully enhance the experience. I forget them all because it's actually gotten a lot easier now. And this is, this is the thing with anybody who's doing something, you have to think, how much of their secret sauce do they really know? Some of it's the engagement, some of it's like beliefs that they have, and certainty, confidence. But I have taught this to enough people that I know anyone can do it.
Okay.
I learned it from a 12-year-old. There's that too. Oh, well, I went the brick stage.
Yep.
So I come here, I put him in microchip, and I come in to a position, can you scooch that way a bit?
Yep.
Where we're like this, which is theatrically very nice.
Yep.
It also puts him in my sort of frame of sphere of influence. I don't know what to call it. You're in my space now.
Yeah.
I'll tend to shy away from control because that's how you get resistance.
Right.
We don't need that. And here, just like before, I can do little manual things. So, for example, what I'm really all I'm really going to do is reliably is I'll probably put you here is how I often start, so that this pinky is somehow touchable by me.
Okay.
Because in order to get a movement, humans are actually very wired to connect to each other and empathize. It doesn't take all that much, but I like to have something here because you will tend, when you imagine this moving, it will want to move. That doesn't mean it will.
Right.
So I can help it along. I can help it along by having some pressure here and letting go a tiny bit. I can have it by even saying, do you feel that tension build up here?
Yep.
The point is, you seeing my finger, it causes you to sort of mentally empathize with my finger.
Gotcha.
And so when I do this, and you're really in the moment, not normally, but when you're really in the moment, this will also kind of want to move.
Okay.
And so I'm just helping that along. I'm helping along by potentially fudging here a little bit, or I'm helping along by just directing you very clearly. But what I also started doing recently, which I don't know if I've done before, is I do this a few times, which I think is great because it sets up, I've gotten much clearer movement. It sets up what's about to happen. And you're not really sure, am I doing that? Is he doing that?
Right.
So anyway, I turn on my chip if I'm a chip, or I create the connection. I make it clear that the connection is created. And I'm doing this, and then I go, now look at your pinky, and I start moving mine. Yeah. And so that's the moment where so many people are like, what? And as we're moving here, your other fingers start to loosen up. And there's actually, again, this is teamwork, whether you know it or not. So as this moves, your other fingers are going to start to twitch a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm going to start mirroring you. So you're watching this, and I'm actually one ahead of you.
Right.
Where I'm watching the other movements start. And by the time you see what's happening, it's like our hands are actually synced.
Right, yeah.
And then at this point, I will often come here, I'll move up, I'll move down. And if you don't have the cleanest movements in the world by now, which you might,
Sure.
the last 2 days, it's all been this all the way, but it can happen. I also have this hand here.
Okay.
So I'm supporting you. I'm making everything easy. But if you're not making everything easy, I can just give a little push.
Right.
And I can even give a little bias this way, like that. So I'm just giving the tiniest cue. And at this point, it is kind of marionette-ish.
Right.
Because I'm not controlling you, but I am leading you.
Right.
And you're not consciously able to know all the things that are happening because we only have that much attention.
Sure.
And so now we've, for example, if I move my thumb, you can feel that. Now there, I verbally directed you to it if I move my thumb. But at the same time, if I just go like this and I start to move my pinky, well, I guess I'm doing that for them, but if I were, yeah. And again, you'll get the most fluid movements when it's not just me controlling, it's me feeling a little bit where you want to go.
Sure.
And by the way, little movements are enough. In fact, little movements are often things that people lose their shit the most.
Right.
I've done things where you can do all sorts of more fluid movements. It's actually less impressive.
Gotcha.
Because it's
Looks too staged.
It looks. Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
People think it's fake, or it just kind of becomes hokey, which you do if you want.
Right.
So there's a few other things I'll go over here, which I don't really do anymore, but you can do. So for example, if I want to give a couple more nudges, I can hold you up like this. We can practice like this, and when I come down, what I'm doing is I'm holding here just the tiniest bit, and when I release at the bottom, your fingers go out.
Yep.
And so I'm actually mirroring what's about to happen. So, or I can do sometimes when I'm here, I'll go like, okay, I'll turn this off for now. Then I'm like fiddling and I'm like, okay, there. Or I didn't really do that well that time, but I'll like do a little snap or a pop, and
it felt like my arm just like went loose for a second. It was weird.
well, it did, yes, because that was my issue communicating. Because I did a little snap and a pop, and I just
It felt like everything got sucked out.
Yep. Yeah. And so you'll see is what's kind of happening here is I'm building a little reality, or we're building a little reality where you're mostly following my lead. I'm also following you a bit, but when I'm a little unclear, strange things happen. Like your arm goes dead.
Yep.
So if I want to create an arm dead effect, I can do that.
Sure.
But if I'm a little messy, I might end up with a dead arm. And that's cool too. I'll just roll with the punches.
Okay.
So open this guy. Take out the chip. Sew him back up here. And we can go, I'm not always the most organized thinker, so we can go, when you're doing it, we can go over that again.
Sure.
But one of the important things about any experience, especially, transformative ritual, which this is very lightly inspired by, is that people engage most when there's like bookends. Like, you are willing to experience this crazy world where crazy things can happen as long as it starts and it ends.
Sure.
And you don't walk away going, okay, if he scratches his nose, am I going to scratch my nose?
Right. Yeah.
And so we essentially undo what we did in the first place. Very simple. So grab my scalpel, open up, spread that apart. I didn't even had to do that much. Oh yeah, I did, because I took out the chip already.
Yeah.
Grab your bone, put that in. Ligaments, tendons. Yeah. And your muscles, put that in. And we'll sew this guy back up. Snap that off. Put it in. How's your arm feel?
Yeah. Better.
Yeah, better?
Yeah.
Normaler?
Yeah.
Not normal? So essentially, recap, I'm just kind of casually asking, do you want to experience something weird, unusual, different? And then I am communicating with my body and with my actions everything that's going to happen. And a lot of that just has to do with knowing where I'm going and in my body communicating that thing. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's. Do you have any questions before we move on?
Not at the moment, but I'm sure I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right. So we'll get some. You got to put everything back in first. I forgot about that. So there's some of your.
Hey, Jake.
Hey, buddy.
Good to see you. I'm doing well. Do you mind if I show you something that's kind of interesting?
Yeah.
Kind of a weird experience. All right. Do me a favor here. Take your arm, and I want you to just relax a little bit. All right. And I want you to imagine that I have a little thing right here. This is a. Can you see it?
No.
It's a scalpel.
Oh.
It's a scalpel. It's invisible. You can't see it.
Oh.
But I want you to watch closely here. Are you afraid of sharp needles or knives or anything like that?
Depending on the situation.
How about blood? You good with blood?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. So do you look away when you get needles or blood drawn or anything like that?
I do look away. I
Okay.
am that guy.
You're welcome to look here or not, but I want you to just take a second and experience this for me, okay? So just I want you to watch. I'm going to place the scalpel right here in your arm and just kind of cut into it here, as you can see it. Come right through here. Let me put this down now. 1 second. So I'm going to take my hands and just open up your skin, going right across there. There, good. Can you feel that? You see it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Now I want you see the bone right here. I'm just going to unlock that and take that out. Good. All right.
Yeah.
You feel your arm, it's a little bit more loose now, right?
Yeah.
Less weight there. Now you see the muscles on this side. I'm just going to pull that one out and pull that one out. Good. Get these tendons and nerves and veins out of there. Good. Good. You feel that?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Awesome. Now I want you to pay attention to this area here. I have this steel pipe. I'm just going to kind of just shove this right up into that spot in your arm. You feel that right there?
Yeah.
Good. All right. You feel that part of your arm? Awesome. Okay. All right. All right. Now, what does that feel like?
Stiff.
Stiff?
Yeah, it's like
All right, perfect. Now, if I let go of your arm, let me see. Just tell me what that feels like there.
like really rigid.
There. So if I move it here, right? Doesn't hurt at all or anything, right?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So I want you to watch me very closely here. Take that. Just gonna reach in. Just if I can grab that. Okay, put that down.
As you feel the tension release. Yeah.
You feel that going a little bit softer now? Awesome. All right. So we'll get some. You got to put everything back in first. I forgot about that. So there's some of your muscles there, right? Those back in on that side. Some of these veins and nerves. Need those. And then of course that big bone right there. Feel that going right back in?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Awesome. Just push that skin back together for a second. Get a needle and thread there. Just kind of just sew that back up. Perfect. Good. You feel that? Does it feel
Yeah.
a little bit better now? Awesome.
Feels normal again.
Good. All right. Awesome.
Nice.
Perfect.
Nice.
Good.
Picture forward like that.
Yeah.
So
see it flopping around on me there.
Looping. There you go.
How was that? I know that was just like that first phase.
The second phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you definitely got into it. It looks really good.
Okay.
I made a couple notes to think of. So I like that. So when I do it, I don't say imagine this, imagine that. I just like this is how it is, and I think both can work.
Okay.
Yeah. Both are good frames.
Yeah.
I'm coming at it from the mind of a magician, so maybe a little different. Yeah. Visualize it, see it, feel it.
Yeah, I notice a lot, especially people with hypnosis trainings when they're learning some of the stuff that I do. They'll talk a lot about imagination, visualizing, adding on layers. And if that's your style, fine, but you actually don't need it. And so most people won't care, but the people who, there are some people out there who will be like, aha, he's hypnotizing him by using hypno language. Doesn't matter, but it's just one thing that could happen.
Okay.
I thought you had really good feedback around like, this is what's happening. You really got into the miming. And I thought will be useful for people to notice and watch is like when you first got into the wrist thing, you actually, maybe you were just a gentler soul than me. I really give him a crank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not a ton. You didn't, but that's fine because I had mentioned that you can do a checkup here and you did. And so you caught it here, which I think had you not done that, he would have had a slight bend. And you would have, he might have felt tense, he might have felt all these things, but it's not nearly as vivid as here.
Okay.
So yeah, that was great.
All right.
Do you want to do?
And you're good as well with like obviously this stuff. Half of the game is, in a sense for people watching too for intrigue, right?
Yes.
If you just do it and go, and they go, whoa, that's weird, but you don't ask them feedback into their experience, nobody to go with, right?
Yes.
So you did really good at asking, what's that like?
Yeah.
Blah, 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 that kind of stuff. I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you hit that dead on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I can't move my arm is different than I can't move my arm.
Yeah.
And so you caught him into the better position at the end.
Yeah, because it's a bar.
Yeah.
It's a bar. Now, when you put the bar in, are you going to the elbow or are you going right up to the shoulder?
I'm shoving it through here into their shoulder.
Okay.
And I'm actually using this arm as leverage to make their shoulder.
Because I imagine when you're pulling the bone, it's this bone, not the whole shoulder.
Yeah.
So are you pulling the whole shoulder bone out?
I'm just taking out the front bone, but if you want to get them all.
That's
so this
what
is again.
my original thought was is from here to here.
Right. So the nice thing about Surreal is that you make your own rules, and as long as they meet you at your rules, it's fine. So for me, it's like, I actually do more than this while only really working in this area.
Okay.
But I'm consistent.
Because I could tell you what happened. When you did it to me and you put the pipe in, I actually felt this sort of resistance when you got to here.
Because of the rest of your bone.
Pushing past my upper arm, right?
Yes.
And I could actually, it's kind of weird, but I could feel it almost like knock into it.
Yes. 100. Yeah.
Sort of like it felt extra thick.
Yes. And this is it. Like, so we're gonna follow our own rules.
Right.
We're gonna use these little tricks and little like maneuvers, and we're gonna be a little bit more in our heads because I'm crafting the experience, but you're the one animating the experience as the participant. And so if I get caught in my mind around I'm the one doing the magic, I miss the magic. Because what's really happening is I'm opening this door and saying, what if this were real? and you're going, yeah, okay. And then all the other things happen.
Right.
And that's what's crazy. And that's half of the fun, if not more, is, okay, some people, it's different for different people. That's why I say every reaction is good.
Sure.
Because it's going to be a little different for different people. And instead of going, oh no, in fact, there was one of these yesterday, oh no, my bar is movable. I might have even said, everyone's a little different, or
that is it.
Or I might have said
it's like acceptance, right? Like letting validating the reality.
Yeah.
Yes. So instead of
wrong.
yes, absolutely. Instead of this meaning the bar didn't work, this means, well, clearly she's responding to a bar, but it's not as thick as some bars.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you talk to them, instead of going, oh shit, it didn't work, often they'll go, yeah, oh, it's so weird. This is easy. This is so weird. That's just the skill bar they have.
Right.
I think that's one of the biggest difference between something like this and traditional hypno too, because when you have the hypno challenge, right?
Yeah.
Which again, we've kind of talked, like I'm a little more aggressive to an extent with like doing something like this or bridge. But I still have to be open, even with that kind of a more aggressive kind of guidance of it in my character, to facilitate being open to, say you're doing the marionette movements and you do that, and you just get like this slight, or they say, oh, I feel it want to go. I'm like, yeah, you can just allow it to go, and even if you say that, but when you have a hypno challenge, you do like a stiff arm.
Yeah.
If they bend that arm, you've failed.
Yeah.
In this, if they bend that arm, you've just basically said that's right.
Yeah.
This is your experience in your world, and this is how you're experiencing it. And when we did it, and this will be good, we'll call back to the performance footage on this, right? Yeah. We had a group yesterday, it's an Israeli folk. I showed you a brief, quick reaction. That was her doing the bent arm. Mm-hmm. One, she, like you said earlier, she got so into it, she was able to bend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it didn't even phase her at all, but she was unable to bend it, and she kind of bent it a little bit in the thing.
Yeah.
Two, we brought the other guy who immediately said, I want to experience this too. And literally, you're like, questioned like the exact same thing. And he's like, yeah. And we got into it.
Right.
His bent arm was very much that. And there was
what? His bent arm was
hers the one that was a little more loose.
Hers was a little loose. His was a real
perfectly stiff. But it's still, because even though the rallies were different, and we're breaking the conventional rule of actually mentals and all this are doing the same thing twice. It's just as interesting that to the experience they're different, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is, I think this gets to one of the core things that, because we talk all day about like what is or is not hypnosis, but I think one of the incontrovertible truth that's happening is we have these reality generating capacities, and we're leveraging that in a really interesting way.
Precisely.
And if I over control and I say, this is how it's supposed to go, yes, that'll work with many people.
Right.
But one is, well, okay, there's going to be a few. I'm not even going to count, but you will, often it creates a power dynamic, which isn't great. Yeah. Some people really respond to that negatively. Auto Rank talks about some interesting relevant stuff around how you create sort of subconscious power dynamics. Right. But you're also, there's an inherent creativity in our mind-body systems. And when I don't over-control too much, that's where there's this weird resistance as I go from open arm to like still got a bone in it arm, and it becomes more real because you're participating. I'm not over-controlling. And that's where the magic really begins. Because if we're all about control, we will consistently end up with the same effects of, okay, there's a thing in my arm, but we also will become caught up with the same reactions because people are just like, oh, this is what it's like having a weird arm. Some people think that's crazy, some not.
Right.
But if you meet them in the middle and you're responding to what they're responding to and you're engaging their creative process, now all sorts of crazy stuff can happen. And the last point of that is we essentially have different modes for engaging with reality. And there is the controlling one and there is the exploring one. And we are, as we can see with our fingers and stuff, our mind-body systems are contagious. So if I come in saying, this is how it's going to go, and I'm going to control this experience, well, it can work, it will work, especially because you can, modify and do all these kind of things. You get a certain amount of engagement, but you're actually using closed system. And so they're going to tend to respond closed system. And if they don't,
Right.
I'm still not going to catch what they're giving me
Right.
because I'm closed.
Yeah.
So essentially, and I think this sort of uncomplicates it hugely,
Yeah.
I just do what I want from them. I'm curious. When I cut him open, how's he going to respond? Like when genuinely yesterday when we were going around in the market and I was like, okay, I'm going to cut you open. How do you feel about blood or whatever I was saying? I said a little different every time. Every answer was like, oh shit to me because I'm like, where did we find all these?
Yeah, we're finding all these needle junkies and
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
Like, really?
Exactly.
Like, we were joking about like, what is up with this town?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Who comes to Boston? The masochists.
Fun place.
So, so I think above all else, I'm engaging curiosity with curiosity, like attracts like.
Right.
And the premise of all of this is we're playing.
Yeah.
We're using a frame that talks about play. I'm engaging in a way that feels kind of playful. It's surreal. It's not real. So, like if you're doing a mentalism effect, that's great. They can be great. But if you're a little too hyper realistic, then you're, dealing with the adult controlling mind.
Sure.
And they can be wow or not, but it's still that controlling mind. You add a little surrealism and they're weirdly, they become even more invested,
Yeah.
even more engaged.
Would you say a good way to kind of, if we really condense this down to like layman's terms, like in a way, it's better to be just so many, I think, mentalists, magicians, performers in general. They're so focused on being the hero, but that's not. You're not looking for a hero to guide you on a journey. You're looking for Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're looking for a guide, right? Like you want to be.
So
like, put in
your
Star
participant
Wars
is
terms.
Luke, and you just gotta.
Yeah, you want to make your
pick him up on
person
his speed
you're
racer.
working with a Luke, you know.
Okay.
I feel like and you're the Obi-Wan Kenobi, kind of guiding them through
Yeah.
this experience.
All right. Yeah. So this is Joseph Campbell magic.
Yeah,
We're getting into. Yeah. I think
Hey,
that's a fair.
Jedi dot shit.
Yeah. I think it's a fair way of. Yeah. I think it's a fair way of putting it. Yeah. So I mean that was a big aside, but I think that's probably the most important thing on here. So thank you. But
Yeah.
I would like, because there will be a lot of detail-oriented people as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to run through 1, 2, and 3, or at least 1 and 3? So bricks and movements,
Right.
just so I can see it, comment a bit
Yeah.
on it, and report back
I
to
didn't
the
do
crew.
the bricks. I totally forgot about the bricks.
So, actually,
Real quick.
could I? This is point number 2 of
Yeah.
important shit. Is I actually have a neurological issue. I can't do things in sequences almost ever. And yes, he has. He's noticed. I found that it's liberating to tell people that, because I literally can't do my own shit correctly, and it still works.
Right.
Yeah, it's
So-
funny.
So that's kind of where the bar is. It's not about doing it right. It's about doing it.
Yeah.
And so I started doing this in about 2008. So 14 years later, done it 1,000 times, less than the last few years given. I think for the first time ever, I forgot to put in the bricks first, or
Take
what did
the
I
bone.
take out the bone?
Yeah.
Take out the bone. It's like the basics.
Yeah, I'm so crowded.
So crowded. Isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, right. That couldn't have fit in a bar.
No.
Good thing the camera guy caught it. But that's it. Is where you can be wrong, you can mess up, as long as you're still in the moment, as long as you're still engaged with the person, because it's not the perfection that makes it; it's the imperfection.
Yeah.
That's the imperfection is where this weird resistance came from.
Right.
The imperfection is how you dropped differently than the last guy.
Right.
You're always gonna, as long as I'm engaged myself, as long as I have some little helpers to make sure I can communicate an experience, that's all that's gonna take to unlock the real magic.
Totally.
And so when I'm, in my head around like, I fucked it up. Well, that's me going back into defense mode, not curiosity mode.
Right.
Yeah, curiosity mode is so important for this because, like you're saying, biofeedback in a lot of ways, right? If you have curiosity into something, it's like there's a really interesting model out of I think it's like 5 conscious commitments of conscious leadership, something like that.
Could be.
There's an interesting thing where it talks about observing emotions, right? Where You can sit there and if you say you have an anger reaction, right? And instead of just emoting it, maybe you stop for a second, almost imagine taking it out, and then look and go, why is that?
Yeah.
And get curious about it instead. And you can redirect from that path. I think the same thing with this kind of thing, right? When you have that curiosity, and that curiosity is infectious when you say have that emotional reaction too. So it allows you to kind of control the thing a little bit more. It takes people off guard when they do something that should make you angry, they feel make you angry, and then instead you have a look of curiosity on your face. You've taken a moment and you're curious about something, But, yeah. Might have rambled there, but
no, that's all right.
Sense?
No, it does make sense, and I think a lot of people will comment on a similar thing because it's just a human truth. Is like we are contagious.
We are contagious. Yeah,
I know that from the last couple of years.
Me too. Dates this project a bit, but it's all right.
Yeah, and people will tend to notice similar things about how we get in the way. But let's do that. Let's do it again. And
from the beginning, or do you want to?
Let's do from the beginning,
Okay.
as early on as you want, but let's at least begin with the opening. So let's
Pick it up from the second half.
let's start
at the
absolutely
very
beginning.
Okay.
And to piggyback a little on our conversation before, for people who are new to this kind of stuff, you're going to come in. You have some basic tools that you've seen of how you can change experience and like give little nudges here and there, but also be open. And you're also probably coming in with a feeling of nervousness, anxiousness, discomfort.
Yeah.
And the slight reframe there is what you're actually feeling is excitement. What you're actually feeling is this going to work? Am I going to fail? Well, that's curiosity. So let's label those correctly as excitement and curiosity. And guess what is going to open this man's world to the possible? It's excitement and curiosity.
Right.
So little frame to come in with. And then let's start with the arm, or wherever you want to start, whether it's the frame up or just dive into the effect.
All right. I'll probably start from the beginning again because I need to just start doing stuff. It's weird. All right. Hey, Jacob. Nice to see you again. I want to try something kind of interesting with you, if you don't mind. All right. Can I see your arm?
Yeah, of course.
Good. I want you to just relax your arm for a second. Now, are you afraid of like needles or scalpels or anything like that?
Depends.
Okay. How about blood? You good with blood?
Yeah.
You good with blood? Okay. Good. When you get a shot or have blood drawn, do you look or do you look away?
Look away.
Okay. Yeah, you're like me too. Even though I've got a lot of ink, I still tend to look away. So I have something here. This is can you see that?
No.
It's a scalpel actually. So I'm gonna do something here for you. I want you to watch. I'm just gonna touch it into your skin there and just kind of make a little cut right down the center. Right there. Good. All right. I'm gonna put that away. Now I'm just gonna use my hands to just spread open the skin right on that line.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can see inside there's your bone right there. I'm just gonna pull that out for just a minute. There. Now I'm just gonna grab these muscles here. Okay, good. All right, perfect. Get that one. Okay, good. All right. All right. You feel it's a little weaker now, right? It's a little softer. It's like there's not much stuff.
Jello.
There's a few things left in here. Let me just get these veins and arteries. Get rid of those. All right. So you feel it's like yeah. What does that feel like? Very light. Right, you can feel it still on your wrist, right? You feel that?
Yeah.
Your
like
arm is kind of weak.
Jello in a lot
Right.
of ways.
Sorry, I want you to watch this here. I've got this brick, all right? I'm just gonna put that right in your arm. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Feel that? Good. All right. I want you to take this next one. I got a couple of them. All right. Right there. See how it goes down a little bit more? Do you feel it? It's getting heavier, right?
Yeah.
Heavier. All right. I got one more. Just see if I can stick that in there right there. Perfect. Good. You feel that? If you try just lifting up your hand just a little bit, see how much heavier it is now?
Yeah.
Can you bend that elbow? Is that easier? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's much
good. All right. So I'm just going to pull that up just a little bit here. Let me get that one out. Okay. Put that one here. All right. You feel a little bit of the weight relief, right? Right there. Pull that one right there. Good. All right. You feel it's even lighter now?
Yeah.
Right there. There's one more. All right, good. All right, you see how it's loose here, but it's not as heavy.
Jello.
Yeah, back to Jello. Now I got one more thing. Let me get this. It's just a piece of steel rod. Just in place of your bone. Just gonna put this right up into your arm, right there. Good. All right, perfect. All right, you feel that kind of straightening out?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, awesome. Good. All right, you feel that? What's that feel like?
just stiff. Like my
Stiff?
fingers are.
Stiff. You feel your fingers. You feel the fingers, but the arm is kind of weird. All right, I'm gonna let you go here for a second. Can you feel that now?
Yeah.
If you move your arm up, tell me what that feels like. Moving your arm.
Resistance.
A lot of resistance.
Almost feel it in.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about that arm? Does that arm still work fine? All right. Good.
Fine right here.
All right. So let me take this here. I'm just gonna pop that bar out. All right. Good. Put that right there. I'm gonna sew you back up here. I gotta get some needle and thread. There. Perfect. Now I didn't put anything back in, but you're sewed up. You feel that?
Yeah.
Feel that? It's weird.
Yellow effect.
Yeah. Awesome. So I want you to see the thread going through your arm there. I'm just going to grab the end here. Do you feel, when you pull that thread through your fingers, sometimes you can feel that. I want you to, can you feel that kind of running through your arm there?
Yeah.
There, do you feel that coming through? We'll get rid of that. All right. Right there. All right. Let me throw that muscle back in. It's over here. Right there. Yep. There. Perfect. There's one. Good. There's two. Get that bone. Pop that bone back in. Good. All right. Get that needle and thread again. All right. Perfect. Good. All right. How's that feel? Is that better?
Yeah.
Good. Just move your arm a little bit.
All back
Good.
to normal.
Good. Both arms are the same. Fantastic. All right. We can take it a step further if you like.
Yeah.
A little
of course,
different. Okay.
Of course.
All right. Let me get that scalpel back out again. I'm just going to make a smaller cut right about here. Right there. Perfect. You see that? I'm just going to open just a little bit. And have this little pin. See this pin? This little piece of metal. I'm just going to pop that right there. Okay. Should bring your arm out here. Now, I want you to watch your hand here because I'm just going to put it right on top of mine.
All right.
There, just like that. All right. Now, do you see that? I'm going to move my arm up here. I want you to watch here because now we're sort of connected. You feel that?
Yeah.
All right. So I want you to watch here as I move my arm up. You see it starts to come up as well, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, I want you to just keep an eye on my little finger right here. Right?
Okay.
So I'm going to see it start to wiggle a little bit. Right? There. Right? Now, as that one goes, watch. Good. Feel that rocking back a little bit?
Yeah.
Good. Watch your other fingers now. Now, separate your hand like that, right? Watch your hand. Down. There, good. Right. Let me bring my arm back over here. Right. Take that and just can unlock everything. Perfect. You can relax your hand a little bit. Right. And just grab that. Just put a couple of stitches in there. Take that pin out first. There. Good. And should be good to go.
Back to normal.
We're good to go. How does everything feel?
Everything feels good.
Good?
That was cool.
Perfect. All right.
Boom.
Nice. Loved it.
Loved it. Yeah.
No comments. Perfect. No, it was great. It was great, and it's affirming my intuition to not get into all the little details of stuff because I could see that, like, the way you were cradling his arm. It's like I could feel that you found the right thing that worked for you to get the maximum leverage, and it was different than what I would have done, and it worked just as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. I'd, like often I'll have my hand here because I can put some leverage here. And I noticed there was, like, his arm raise was slow. And I think if you had done it my way, yes, that would have been easier. But I liked how yours opens the roll, and so awesome.
One of the little bits, I noticed this yesterday when he was doing this too. Because remember, girl, she kind of, I think, commented. We're talking
First girl?
Okay. She kind of commented, well, aren't you just guiding it up? And he said, yeah, sure. But then what you did was you did it one more time, and then you opened up. Because what happens is you're actually setting that expectation as well, right? If you get in alignment a little bit, and then when you opened up and it still went up anyway, they go, oh, shit.
So essentially,
something really nice.
Yes, and so essentially, I'm dealing with a challenge by telling the truth, just not all the truth.
Sure.
So, and I could tell all the truth too. It's not like this is all happening for reals, guys. But yeah, with her, she was the first person I had done this within probably a year because COVID and stuff. Well, I guess I did a couple in December.
Yeah.
So, well, almost a year. So with her, I was kind of overdoing it. And she's like, aren't you pushing on my arm? And the fact is that, yes, I'm pushing on her arm. Why am I pushing on her arm? To give her the experience of what it's like once we're connected.
Yeah.
And by the time she's caught that, I've already given her that experience.
Right.
So I'm like, oh no, we can just take the hand away. I don't even, probably didn't even say no. I said, you know what? I'll just take the hand away.
It was already raising too is the best thing.
Yeah.
So it was
Can be.
already in
You're
motion.
giving her a kick.
Yeah.
And she's doing the rest on her own.
Yeah.
Right.
And the imagination, curiosity,
Exactly.
whatever we want to call the mechanism that makes us work,
Yes.
takes over, right?
And so, yes. And so in a way, this is not a kung fu kata. This is wrestling.
Yeah.
I have a goal. And there's an elegance to it, and I'm trying to communicate something through my body to another person's body, and that's the thread that I'm holding on to. It's not about all the little pieces. The pieces help, but they also will tend to flow naturally from me understanding that what I do is real.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is real. What I'm doing is something that's really interesting for you. It's something that opens this idea, this experience of a true thing for us as humans.
Yeah.
Crazy that we can do this, and this is a tiny bit of what more we can do.
Well, it's real for you too, as
Absolutely.
as the operator. I mean, it's just like to put it in magician terms for anyone out there that is heavily magic. I'm a coin magic junkie, huge. And when you do a toss vanish or a retention, even, you need it to look like this hand drops a little bit to really sell it. The worst coin magic thing I've ever seen anyone do is they do a French drop like that, and that's how it looks.
Right.
Versus you can just do something like that, and it looks absolutely dead on. It's a lot. It's very, for those of you out there, it's very Slidini-esque in a way how this works. I mean, that is the fulcrum piece. This is that real mimicry, getting into it. You got to go inside your head and it's kind of like we were talking about yesterday, right? The best way I think to do mime is imagine you've got a ball or something, and imagine pushing on it, and when you can feel the resistance and feel it there in your hands, and your muscles are literally it actually gives you a workout almost.
Yeah.
Doing it, you've got a perfect
It's a theater exercise.
It is,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a theater, the golden ball.
The golden ball.
Yeah.
And so often we kind of split things like this is theater, this is real life, this is magic, this is real life. And I like that we're kind of going in that in between space of this is theater and it is magic and it's real life, and the real how it works and the truth that we're conveying is there's more to us as people. We forget that all the time.
Totally.
And this thing happens because of how awesome we are.
Right.
And so, for example, yesterday, and always, you'll notice, and maybe I should say this in the copy, I don't know, I haven't done one of these videos before, but nobody goes, was that a trick? Nobody goes, how did you do it? Everyone's like, which real thing is this?
Right.
Is this mirror neurons? Is this some kind of voodoo? Is this, is this psychic? It's nobody's like, where's the strings? Because it just doesn't occur to you. Why would it?
Yeah.
Which real thing is this? And I love that as a starting place.
Yeah.
And on top of that, because you're leading in with this real thing, the next thing is also going to be real.
Right.
No matter what you're using as your nudge, maybe it's not your hand anymore. Maybe it's a billet. Maybe it's whatever you tend to use.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I was kind of saying yesterday, right? You don't do a card trick before this, right? I feel like if you created the frame of you take a card, all right, cool. Now watch. It's on the top, and then you did this.
I don't know.
I think it kind of detract from it.
It depends. I think it
on that.
really depends on what you're doing. If you're on the street, I don't know. If you were in the market, Quincy Market doing this, no, I wouldn't do a card trick before it.
Yeah.
But if you were in a stage context, or if you were doing a parlor style show, or even walk around, strolling magic, I could see this being incredibly hard hitting after Invisible Deck.
Yeah, see, the context I think would fit.
You know what I mean? So it all depends on your theming. You can turn a card trick into something as magical feeling
Oh, totally.
as this.
Yes.
Would you put them side by side? It's up to the performer.
Yeah.
You know, in your style.
Also, your personality can pull it off.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you have the balls,
Yeah.
honestly, you have to have balls to do something like this, anyways.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going out on a limb, literally,
Yeah. On interaction, human
with
experience. Yeah.
with a stranger, most of the time. I mean, so maybe you're doing this at a party or something. I can see this being they're a little bit more comfortable, maybe more lubricated. But I can definitely see this being challenging for a newbie on the street. So yeah, absolutely. It all depends on your context, your purpose, what you're driving at.
Yes,
That's true.
And I'll add your own internal frame of if there are many different types of performers, magicians, mentalists, what have you. I mean, many types of even within those categories. And often there's this feeling of I'm doing this to you. I have to be in control. And if that's your frame, whether you're, especially if you're new, but even if you've been around a while, it's going to be hard. On the other hand, the first 20% of this literally taught to me by a 12-year-old.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that a big part of this is going to be allowing it to work, allowing it to happen,
Yeah,
trusting that people, this is actually the natural thing.
Yeah.
This is the most natural thing. You come up to somebody and the moment they're okay with experiencing something weird, this is what can happen.
Yeah.
And you saw it. You saw it yesterday. I mean, we kind of saw it today.
Oh, yeah.
It's first time, works both times.
Yeah.
Little modifications here and there. You got a captive audience. But yesterday we went out and had a very not captive audience. Had some shit disturbers, had some, I don't know what the American term for that is.
Yeah.
We had some troublemakers.
Yeah.
And
Skeptics and no,
Dickheads.
dickheads. Yeah. No, I'm trying to say hecklers.
Yeah.
And the honest thing with hecklers, they just weren't. They weren't very open
You're from
people.
Boston,
They weren't
they're
closed
dickheads.
off.
yeah. Right.
So,
But again, so I guess what I emphasize is that we can allow this to be the natural thing, and the fact that it's natural doesn't make it not magic. That,
Right.
in a certain sense, makes it more magic, because
Yeah.
magic is stuff that happens when you don't really have control over it.
Totally.
Like the experience of magic. So
I can see this hitting somebody really hard, really
yeah.
hard. I've been working a presentation in my head for this since we started talking. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I've got it almost completely fleshed out for this. So yeah, and it fits beautifully because I'm already doing something, not what you're doing, but using an arm.
Yeah.
So adding this into it, I can see that demonstration being a focal point. So, and I'm not bullshitting there. I've been literally going through different thematically, interesting points on how to plot it. So
Yeah.
it's great.
yeah, I love it. And so just because, we'll probably take a moment here, regroup, see if there's anything we haven't covered. But in this interaction that just happened,
Yeah.
do you have any further feelings on how it went? Questions?
Yeah.
Moments of doubt?
No, you have to commit.
Yes.
You have to commit and believe it. If you don't commit, you're not going to believe it. They're not going to believe it, and it's going to fail. And I think it's going to fail bad. Coming out of the mindset of a magician and a mentalist, like you were saying, with the failure being the problem with those challenge effects, can't raise your arm, can't bend your elbow. That's where my mind goes as that type of performer. But if you commit, like what you're doing with something like this, and you're not framing it as a challenge,
Right.
and you're not framing it in the concept of I have the control, you're my puppet,
Yeah.
it will work. But you have to believe it, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Yes, I love that.
I think
Well
you're
put.
absolutely correct. You're
And
absolutely correct.
and so what you're doing is you're committing to play a game,
yeah,
and you're committing to play a game knowing that what you're doing is real.
yeah.
And as long as you have those two things, I think it'll happen. Because my experience, I don't know if I'm sure there's been somebody who's been like, no, my arm's not heavier. I can't
You're gonna
remember
get
it. It's probably going to happen.
enough. You're going to get some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? It's like I tell people that are like, I'm into what I do. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm kind of like a magician. I'll bait him a little bit.
Well, but could I pause for a second?
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is, I don't remember this person. It may not have ever happened.
Yeah.
It might.
Possible.
It's plausible.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so one is, this is a very natural thing. It will tend to happen.
Yeah.
We're setting up the right frame. But we're also using our tools to make it the most, like, to feel it as it's happening. This is gonna be much stronger than, say, light hand, heavy hand, balloon brick kind of thing, because you're physically in there and you're able to have so much leverage.
Yeah. And is there I guess, an inherent shock value to it as well?
And there's absolutely.
So
little points on your presentation, like I noticed you didn't let go of the arm with the bricks. It was it was this big. And it could have been, you could have, if you wanted, set down the arm, as I sometimes do, to put it here, and that's where they're coming from.
Sure.
The visual.
I mean, coming in from seeing you do it 15 minutes before.
Yes.
You mean, at first I completely forgot about the bricks.
Yeah.
but like you forgot about the bone.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like you said, there's no order. There's no proper order other than the beginning. But like you said, you've done stuff out of sequence.
Yes. Now the sequence, I would say, is an optimal one because of how it engages small, it engages with a reliable light heavy, and you're scaling up to harder things.
Sure.
It's just that sequence is helpful. It's not the be all end all.
You have to have the start, middle, and end, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the bits in between, there was a few things that can be manipulated.
100%. Yeah.
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 And there's so many extra things you can do with it too. Like we've talked about this in variations.
Yes,
Yeah,
and we can get into variations after maybe. So yeah, like I said, I think you did a fantastic job. I think it was a great example of like, okay, you're 15 minutes into this thing, you're already nailing it.
Yeah.
And
Nailing it, but
close enough. And that, yes,
getting it.
there will be people who resist. There will be people who say, okay, this isn't working.
Sure.
I haven't really had that problem. I'm sure it will happen. But we're just committing to a little game.
Yeah.
And no matter the outcome, my experience has been this is something people can engage with.
Sure.
And even when they're not engaging with it, what I was getting back to is when you use the tools correctly, okay, suppose you're a total shithead and you're giving me trouble. I'm doing this. I'm doing all the stuff. I'm kind of maybe asking questions in a more closed-ended way.
Yeah.
How's that feel to you? Does it feel tight? And they're like, yeah, well, I'm still holding him.
Yeah,
so,
right.
like if I notice in the first little bit that he's not responding to this, which is rare,
Right.
if he's giving me a bad vibe,
Right.
all of this, super rare, don't worry about it. But in the worst case scenario, you've done this 100 times and on the 101st time you get a total asshole, then what I do is I'm going through, I'm mangling him around a bit, and instead of going to the third phase, I look out for the most interested looking person and be like, do you want to see this? Do you want to take it a little further?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You can bounce off of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And this asshole, as much as they think they're getting in the way of this, they're not getting in the way of this
Right.
because they're focused on this.
Right.
And I'm focused on this. And I'm going, okay, well, I've used him to show everything that's happening already.
Right.
So let's bring a not asshole in.
Yeah.
And if we're one-on-one with an asshole,
Yeah.
And then you can gauge your audience and see, like you said, who is your invested person.
Yeah.
And that person is going to give you the results that you want when you get to your ending.
Exactly.
And
so I think, maybe after a pause, we can talk about different types of challenges and stuff. I'm happy to answer or go back and forth on that. But I really think the right mindset and the knowledge that not only do these tools help you craft the experience for this guy, you're crafting the perception. This is a bar in the arm.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
It's the proof in the pudding.
Right. Yeah.
when I was doing it, I wanted him to feel what I was feeling when you did it.
Yeah.
And I could literally feel the cut.
Yes.
And not that I could feel pain. I could just feel like this, and not because you were pushing on me either. I could feel the push, but it felt like the skin was separating.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm coming at it because I want it to be effective. I want it to work. But again, that comes down to your purpose, presentation, context. And when I was doing it with him, and I had the thread in, I just had the idea of pulling the thread out.
I liked that touch.
And I wanted him to. I wanted him to feel the thread like unlocking everything. You know what I mean? Because I remember pulling thread through my finger, and I could feel, oh, that feels weird. What if we did like ripping the stitches out? You know what I mean? But in a slow way. So and I felt like that just I could feel it while I was doing it.
And you were curious and you were playful,
Right.
and there it is.
Right.
And that's the good thing, because when you can add things like that,
Right.
you know, it's just
And
so
I did the dowel instead of the microchip, so that we were like on a pivot system.
Oh, interesting.
That was the
Oh, okay, yeah.
so.
I didn't even understand that, but I saw that the way you went in, the way you came out,
Yeah.
like you were consistent, and the
Yeah.
effect was there. And I didn't even you said, was it dowel you said?
I had his
I
arm
thought you said a
like
pin.
this.
No, you said a pin.
Yeah,
but
down
yeah.
a pin. Well, same
Yeah.
thing. The little like this, and I took a pin and just stuck it right
Yes.
here, and then I
And then you
put my
connected
arm
us.
on
Yeah.
it, so that almost like we were
Yes.
on a
Yeah, so you're
on a locking point.
Yes.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, loved it.
that was pretty much.
Loved it.
awesome.
So that explains your point. You can customize it in the moment
Yes.
Yeah.
as you feel it. You can jazz it, like you were saying. So yeah, it's going to be different for everybody.
All right. Cool. Let's take a break and see where we are.
Sweet.
Maybe the idea of pulling, say, a tumor or a bloody feather or what have you out was actually a way of shocking people. So it's kind of two little inspirations that I wanted to share where this came from. So the first is, it genuinely does come from a little kid's game. I don't think it's a popular one. I've never seen this one anywhere else. But back in like 2008-9, I was working at a group home for high-risk youth, and we'd often like I was casual, so I'd come in and be the Mary Poppins one. We come and we have fun, and and so it's in that age group, it was really common to have these little sort of mind-body games, which is really interesting to me because they're all over the world. You know, when I was researching my first book, I found some of them going back centuries, very similar to how they are today. So these are things that are passed on from generation to generation to generation of child. And that's part of why they're so engaging. You talk to somebody on the street and you're like, you remember those games? And half the time they're like, oh yeah, as though they hadn't thought of it in 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah. And it's genuine, and it's coming from this space in our lives where the rules of the world haven't quite formed. And so we're on that cusp of childhood to adolescence to adulthood, when we kind of figured most of the rules out, but they're not settled. That's where we play the most with our perception in these ways that people remember. And so part of it was like, they're creating their games at the same time, or they're showing their games at the same time. I was studying basically the psychology of ritual in my undergrad, and so I was learning about sort of mind-body type experiences as done by shamans and other people who are doing, healing or transformation or potentially entertainment, what have you. And so, they'd show me these things, and I'm like completely reminded of childhood. Then I'm like, oh wait, I can create new stuff just knowing what I'm studying. And this is kind of a fusion of the two, where they played this game with bricks, this imaginary game with bricks. And it sort of clicked off in my mind, oh, we could go further with this. We could create something even more. And so that's where that fusion came from. And in particular, my thesis at the time was on this idea that, okay, have you heard of psychic surgery?
Yes.
Yes. And so what's your knowledge of that?
Mainly performed as kind of a scam service.
Yes.
Healing people with real illnesses, with
Yes.
fake methods, and
Right.
sending them on their ways with them thinking that they've been healed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Pulling out tumors and whatnot. Yeah.
And so, yes, super popular in the 70s. I'm sure it's still around, debunked by a lot of magicians as well as others. But there's also this idea in anthropology that maybe some traditions like that weren't actually a trick. Maybe the idea of pulling, say, a tumor or a bloody feather or what have you out was actually a way of shocking people into a state of perceptual openness, where you could catalyze an immune response, perhaps, or you could shut down a unregulated cycle in somebody's system or what have you. So this game that I was playing with kids became this idea of looking at, oh, what if we're doing this magical thing but for real? What if we're creating an experience that shifts our mind-body connection? And so that's sort of what this became.
Okay.
I'm holding a feather for some reason. I need to.
That was the scalpel again.
Yes. Yeah. Subtle differences.
Yeah.
So that's where this came from. Any thoughts on that?
It's very interesting. It actually makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
that it would start as something with some truth and
Yes.
authenticity behind it.
Yes.
And then people got lazy
Uh-huh.
and started scamming people with
Yes.
it, and manipulating it to make money.
Yes.
basically.
Or that
Yeah.
maybe there was this more complex tradition where
Right.
you're manipulating symbols and you're creating experiences and doing all these kind of things, and then someone comes in and they're like, "Oh, I see where that feather came from."
Yeah.
And then they go do that to the Westerners.
Yeah. Right.
And,
Right.
they're
Yep.
yeah.
I get it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So part of why I thought this is a really interesting place to start is it's sort of this liminal space of what's a trick and what's real, childhood to adulthood, this, and all of these experiences. It's like the anthropologists are all talking about the age of exploration. The stuff going on in the 70s is these interesting historical touch points of what do we believe about the universe. And when we get into how it works and why it always works, that's essentially what we're working with. Our systems for perceiving the universe and how socially we can come in and change those in an instant. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I part of what I wanted to really focus on that is just a lot of the time I've seen, I haven't done a lot of stuff on video. I haven't done a lot of stuff other entertainers have seen. And so a lot of the time the pushback is like, oh, it's some kind of suggestion trick. It's not going to work reliably, or, it's just, it couldn't possibly work. And I really want to lay out, I want you to be able to walk out of this room, or even in this room, we got a camera guy, and actually just do it to somebody.
Okay.
Because it's, I would say, the natural, we're taking advantage of the natural human social processing to create an experience that actually becomes natural on its own. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's get into the breakdown of this. Unless you have any thoughts or questions going in.
I'm sure I will as we go through the breakdown.
Good.
Yeah.
So how it's going to go is I'll show you basically the way that I just kind of do it now,
Okay.
sort of fudge it together. I have some notes from, so this effect is in my first book, Reality as an Art. I had it in way more detail. There's 100 little things that you could do to nudge here and there if you needed to.
Okay.
But I'll show you a couple quick ways of doing it. Then we can have a little break and talk about some of the nudging and finessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're getting somebody to agree to something that isn't expected and maybe has a bit of a risk to it. So, because we did everything kind of conversationally, I just want to go back through step by step by step and review what are we doing in this just very basic flow. And of course, the more you kind of ease into it, the more you can jive and jazz in whatever way you feel. Steps to keep in mind. The first one that came to mind for me just now as we were discussing this is, as you begin this effect, just remember the truth. Like, remember that humans just naturally perceive socially that these kind of games are things that speak to our potential, but also happen. We did them as kids. Most of us did them as kids. This is the natural thing, and when you invite people into it, it's actually quite easy to get going. And of course, that those nerves you have, that doubt you have, that's actually excitement and curiosity. And as long as you can recognize that in yourself, you will exude that, and people will pick up on it, and you will have the capacity to do a lot of things that you might not have thought. So that's kind of frame number one. Then we're gonna do it in whatever context you're in. And however you do it, I think the important thing to do right off the bat is to ask or imply that something weird's gonna happen. Are you cool with doing something weird? You wanna see something odd? We're getting somebody to agree to something that isn't expected and maybe has a bit of a risk to it. So and that's, you know, so now we're kind of making sure that they're emotionally, socially in the right place. Once you have those two things, I believe it's pretty much game over. I assume there's people out there going, well, how do I do this to everybody? Regardless, my answer is you don't want to do it to anybody who is not giving consent.
Yes.
so that's just
weird.
Yeah, right. That's one way to put it. So essentially, I'm setting up that you're in to see something weird. And of course, if someone's like, no, I don't want to see something weird, just show them not weird magic, I guess. I don't know how that works. Not my people. In my experience, you have an okay vibe, people say yes. Nobody said no yesterday. We got some surly people. They still, you know. So then next is you set your frame. And it could be as simple as bringing up the kids' games. So do you remember as a kid, you might have played these games like Crisscross Applesauce, Light as a Feather, Stiff as a Board. There's lists online of people remembering these games that they played as a kid. So find a few that either you remember, ideally, something you have a connection to, or just find something that a lot of people remember. And so now we have, you know, the engagement. And now this is frame number 2. This is, I come in with this playful vibe referring to playful things. Play is an inherent human thing. It's a learning state in my mind. This is, you know, when you're playing as a kid, you're kind of learning your social roles, or you're learning, like, it always trips me out a little bit, like, what's hide and seek? It's like predator prey. It's how kids learned since way back to not get eaten. You know, what's house? You're learning social roles. Play is an innate human state. It becomes catalyzed, and once we get into that space, our minds and our bodies start to shift and adapt, and we're able to engage with each other in a new way. So now we've set that frame. The last opening point essentially is the scalpel. So now we've got the agreed to the weirdness, we've got the engagement, and we've got this absurd thing of I'm following through on the play and saying, can I cut you open with this scalpel? Okay? So once I have that, I might add little statements in like, how do you feel about getting cut? What do you normally do when you get blood? Something to kind of raise the stakes. Well, this is also here, so it's an absurd state raise.
Right.
I come in, and then I do my first cut. I make sure to treat my scalpel as real, because I'm setting the rules of this little universe we're building, so I have to follow my own rules. I put that in my pocket. I open this up, and then I take out my muscles, my bones, my ligaments. We won't do it right now. I put them somewhere safe, and if we show the video from yesterday, you'll see this is kind of like some byplay with people of, you know, where are we putting these things? Are people getting in the medical space, etc.? Then I take my bricks from wherever, doesn't matter, could be an invisible shelf, but I play putting these in, and as I do, I'm leading with my language. I'm imagining heaviness, I'm putting this in here, I'm bringing my hand down 3 bricks, then I sew that back up, and we let them react. I like dropping the hand just to, because some people, they're quite stiff here. I like either, if they're really stiff here, I'll say just relax, and I think that I did that with you the first time.
Yeah, a little bit.
Essentially, I want to end up in a place where he's heavy and it's obvious, so I just ask for what I need. If he's super stiff, I say relax. Whatever I need to create this space. So I let him be heavy for a moment, I let him react, and now we've finished phase 1, which is the thing that everyone's going to respond to. It's super low stakes, it's super low stakes, and it's obvious, but when it really works, but it's not that obvious when it doesn't work as well. So super low stakes. And again, if at any point I mess up here, I'll just correct myself. Like, oh, you know, I'm just going to add another brick for good measure. And that time I really give him a jostle down to to exemplify that.
Sure.
Okay, so I open this back up, I take out my 3 bricks, and next I take out my iron bar, and so now we're on to the phase where it's a little uncomfortable. There's a little more stakes, it's a little weirder, a little more invasive, so we're kind of upping the stakes as we go. I come in, and as I put this in, I'm leveraging his hand to pop out his arm to create this iron bar thing, and I'm also pushing that in so that I end up with this very theatrical, oh shit, this is very straight. And almost certainly, well, definitely, as I'm doing both of these, and this is kind of the next step once you get the basics down, but you can feel how strongly it's happening. Mm-hmm. When I put in the bricks, his hand gets heavy. It's crazy, but it does. When I put in the arm, at the bar, his arm gets stiff. It's crazy that it does. So I take this out, a little extra there, sorry. Take out that bar, and right as the bar comes out, I push him down just so there's no leftover effects here. Take out my bar, and you switch the order of the last part, which actually I do sometimes. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter that much. But, so I'm going to sew you up most of the way, break that off. And then I either imply that I'm going to do a thing that connects us, doesn't matter, or I say I'm going to put in a microchip, or some other, you can say puppet strings or whatever you want, as long as you're kind of consistent in following this little reality that we're creating together. Yeah. I put in that chip, and now I scooch in, and again, with each of these, you'll notice the first one, I'm out here, the second one I'm moving in, and the third one, he's all in my space. So again, I'm coming into his space and drawing him into mine. It's like this increase in investment, in kind of intimacy, of pulling you into my world. And I come in, and now I set up our hands so that we are close to each other. He can see me as I see him. And I begin with the mirroring movements, or not even mirror exactly, but the marionette movements. So I'll often begin with the pinky because it's small, it's creepy, it's cool. You could start anywhere. I'll tend to do pinky and thumb. And if you want to push this along, just remember that he is neurologically mirroring me and everyone, but especially me because I've created this special space, so that when I start moving my finger, even though we didn't do this whole thing, you can probably feel the tension build up there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. That's all the tension we need. So if I have to give it a tap, I will. If I do my tendon trick and I come down and I release, we're actually also playing with the tension that's inherently going to be in the hand. Right. So anyway, in this space, maybe I lead him up and down a bit to establish the rhythm. I really like, this is a pretty, I hadn't done this way back when I was using this, but actually I like this a lot. And then we go through the movements. I like to take them, lead them up, lead them down, sometimes do like a wave, or I like kind of like, oh. And then we come back in. I break the connection, so I turn off the chip, take it out, cut the marionette string, whatever it is that I've done. You do a little cut, take out the chip, and then, very important, every time we open a space where weird things happen, and we ask them if we can do that, we also close that space. So I open this, my scalpel, open, and then I put back in the bone. Then I put back in the ligaments and tendons, back in the muscle. And as long as I'm consistent enough, it doesn't really matter. And then I check in, how was that? Weird. Make sure his arms are fine. And that's not just window dressing. If I forget something, people, even if they don't consciously know, they will tend to know. Right. They'll tend to be like, something feels weird, and I'll be like, ah, shit, the ligaments. Yeah. Then I have to go back, So that's the basic process. we'd taken a little break here, grabbed a couple drinks over lunch, talked about what might be people's worries, issues, doubts, and maybe I'll add to this as I show the footage to some people. But honestly, that bit at the beginning of this is a natural thing, I think that's the secret sauce. Like, we're kind of more allowing it to happen than making it happen.
Right.
And curiosity, excitement, just kind of getting into it. It kind of goes on its own. All I'm going to do is sort of animate the experience I want you to have. And that's that. Well, that's about it. So I want to thank you again for buying this download, and I hope you go try it out. I think the more you practice with this, the easier it'll get. This could be a total game changer. It's a great way to play with something that's really real and engaging. So I hope to see some videos of people out there doing it. And I guess until next time.